So we tried to come up with a witty intro.
We really spent some time trying to do that, but
Dangly parts.
coming up on this LinuxGameCast Weekly, Unvanquished hits Alpha 8. Is Air bad? Minecraft gets its own RTS in the form of Dysis, and we talk about the right way to record your Linux gaming experience. And also, is wine ever an acceptable way to port a game? Let's go. And welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers Linux gaming news, reviews, and basically whatever the hell we come up with. And joining me as always, yes, you know the man, the legend, the penguin himself. He even does things that we're not allowed to discuss. But here he is, Jordan Savang.
Close enough. Yep, NDAs are a bitch.
Why did
But
you
we
have
discussed that last week.
NDAs are a bitch? So, man, genuinely, what have you been up to?
I have had to give speeches to politicians this week, and that was interesting. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, what's a politician like in Canada?
Again, no comments.
No comment. It was that fun?
No comments.
Well, over
Well,
here.
what about you? What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I
you been
guess
up
we
to?
have to get into that business.
Oh, yeah.
We've been doing some tinkering with our capture software. We've improved the audio-video quality while also introducing some audio delay with switching and all that. That can be fixed in post. Still things to work on. We're still quite some way away from having an entire solution. We don't have you can record and broadcast in one box. The broadcasting, it's done. And can you wait until we're able to stream live?
Then the people can see us fuck up in real time.
But, they could see our pre-show because, we have an after show, but you have no idea what the after show involves. Usually penguins.
The after show involves setting either one of us on some random diatribe and then recording it.
It gets pretty bad. But let's jump into this. And this is something that AT&T is up to. And it's a bit
American
of a local.
Telephone and Telegraph.
American. What type of interweb communications do you have there? And
I am on a cable modem.
cable
Yourself?
modem? Rogers?
Rogers.
Rogers. Welcome to the world of bandwidth caps, I
Yep.
believe. But
Yep.
I'm on AT&T, and they're instituting a 6 strikes you're out policy, which seems a bit long because you genuinely have to get 6 strikes before you're out. But one thing I went with AT&T before, I was like, why are you doing AT&T? That's a horrible company, which I completely agree, is that they effectively offered me fiber to the premises for less than $50 American a month. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that is actually a really good deal.
But if you strike out on this, everything gets cut. Here we can take a look at, this was my VDSL2 install. They rolled, I believe, 4 or 5 trucks to my house. That's a shot directly from my front porch. But if this goes down, I think it's going to continue to spread. What do you think? Is that something that you're worried about in,
Canada?
With Rogers?
No, Canada, they already have, throttling in place. Like downloads, uploads get throttled like crazy.
But would they cut you off at a
I,
certain point?
I think one company actually offers fiber to the premises, but they were advertising it as like actual fiber, which was kind of dumb. But yeah, no, internet situation in Canada is pretty bad.
Yeah,
we're basically squeaking by with like
it really struck me as
DSL lines and cable. That's it.
Struck me as sideways, generally because it's non-metered, works good. Not that I download a ton of pirate content. I mean, if you go back and look at my Amazon Play Store purchases, Flickster subscriber, I spend a ton of money. I just think it's a good thing to note to everyone that you might want to switch downloading your Linux ISOs to a private tracker instead of a public one. Does that sound fair?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I like Pi. You like Pi?
Hi. We're getting some double Pi, it seems.
Double complete Pi.
I saw this posted off of the Raspberry Pi's Google Foundation's Google Plus profile, I think it was. And apparently they're making a Raspberry Pi Model B with 512 megabytes of RAM, so double the RAM. That's interesting. They're selling it for £24, which I forgot to convert that to Canadian or American.
It's about $60.
60?
Yeah, around about.
Interesting. All right. Well, if you have a desire for a Pi that has 512 megabytes of RAM and potentially a gigahertz processor and some pretty good graphical capabilities, $60 will buy you a double Pi.
Now, what did the original Pi, the Model A or the Model B, ship with?
256 megabytes.
256. So what would that extra 256 bring us?
That extra 256 would probably bring you better graphical performance. Definitely more applications you can run. Like, you could probably run a GUI on the Pi without, just like XFCE or LXD without any real problem. It would perform better. Just like adding more memory makes anything perform better.
Good deal. So that is, where's the site here? UK dot, what is that? Fennel.com?
Yes.
It'll be in our show notes, so don't worry about all that business. But I kind of want to,
You want to switch gears?
Just maybe 2 gears. We might go
2
3. Never want to go full metal with the gears. But have you ever looked at Linux game capture on YouTube?
Occasionally.
Yeah. Sometimes you see the game is played. There's the game and it's playing right. Everything's going good. And sometimes you see maybe not so good.
No, choppy mess.
Choppy mess. And that's kind of something I want to touch on.
All right, touch away.
Yeah, let us talk Linux game capture. Because, well...
it's a key ingredient in Linux game casting.
Here's an example of doing it right. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I have been doing this for almost 2 years. I know what I'm talking about. It's not horrible. This is Linux GameCast B-Real, Unvanquished, Alpha 8. I'm just going to hit play on this.
Alright. Play away.
And I mean, it's doing its thing. I mean, it's fluid. There's the game. Nothing else going on. No issues. And the quality, up to 720p.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. That's what I like to call doing it right.
Right. As opposed to...
And I'm not picking on anyone here, but this is what I like to call doing it wrong. Now, there are 2 ways to capture a game. I'm going to go ahead and play on this. This is the wrong way. This is using desktop frame grabbing, sire. You see the choppiness in it?
Yeah.
It's not smooth, but it goes up to 1080p, so that's nice, but at the end of the day, you're going to end up with 1080p of choppiness.
Mm-hmm.
We had a conversation before we recorded today, and you asked me what is the difference between recording with something like GTK, record my desktop, versus GLC. Right?
Right. And you explained it to me as such.
Did I tell you? Tell me what you took away from that.
You told me that GLC records from the GPU front buffer. So this is recording right off of the rendering device. So it records right off the GPU as opposed to grabbing frames off a desktop, which is generally better.
Generally better.
I guess worse. Generally better to grab from the device than to grab from recording screen grabs of desktops in rapid succession.
Right. And just think of this as a PSA. Now check this out. Now you're thinking...
The more you know.
The more you know. Rainbows.
We need to add the rainbow in post.
I'm tempted to do that.
And like a little sparkly noise too.
Yeah, we might have to trade on that. But if you're not a big fan of learning this command line voodoo, go to Ubuntu Vibes and check out GameCaster. It's a bit of a front end for GLC. Now, I know GLC can be a bit daunting, but it's better than making Linux games look bad on YouTube. You're hurting people by doing this. I mean,
you're hurting.
You're making people cry, especially me.
Don't make people cry.
I'm very
Don't
sensitive.
make Ben cry. I've seen him cry. It's disgusting.
It's
you
horrible.
don't want him to do that. I don't want him to do that.
Teeth everywhere.
Oh my god, there's like snot on the walls. It's ridiculous.
But even with GameCast, if you're under Ubuntu or anything like that, sudo add app repository, there's a PPA, you're good for it. But here's what I like. GitHub.com/nullkey/GLC. There's a wiki. Man up, download it, and install it from source. The beta, little better performance than what you'll get in the repos. Learn how to use it. The commands, yeah, it's going to take a while. It was hard to write. It should be hard to use. And that's kind of the way I look at that entire business.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess I got done with my,
Are you good now? Do you have that off your chest?
A little bit. It's going, hang on. Yeah, let me step off that pedestal right there. But you got the gist of it. You know, I'm not calling anyone out, not saying anything bad, right?
Right.
And, you know, just use GLC if you're recording a game. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Now, there's one thing we do every week, and
that is our Steam Linux update of the week.
Eek. And nothing done in post, mind you.
Yes, you keep making me look like an idiot. Yes. You bastard.
I might do something in post, but this brings us to GamingOnLinux.com. A friend of LinuxGameCast.com also hanging out, Liam Dowie, in the Linux Gaming subreddit. To quote, so, for those not keeping up to date with Steam CDR, the list of games that will be available is growing. Now,
and it looks like these are all things that have been on Humble Bundles, so that's good. They're porting everything there.
Now, I wouldn't say all things. There's a couple of things to note. More importantly, well, not more importantly, but there's one very important one that involves chewing bubblegum.
Bubblegum?
Yes.
Does it also involve kicking ass?
Well, not really, but it's the closest we're going to get for now. Serious Sam 3 is also on the CDR list, but what is CDR? Do you know what a CDR is?
Recordable CD-ROM.
No, silly. CDR.
No.
The CDR is a record of data that describes every Steam game and subscription provided by Valve for the Steam service. So this is kind of a way we can sneak and peek and see what's coming up for our golden ticket. And by golden ticket, what do we mean?
I mean, our Willy Wonka-ish desires to be in the Steam beta for Linux.
Well, we can laugh manically and prance like little girls.
Prance like little schoolgirls in our tutus.
As opposed to when we don't do that, which is never.
Speak for yourself.
Quiet.
Except I use fancy leotards.
Be quiet. TMI. But let's look forward to that. I mean, check it out on GamingOnLinux.com. We got, Killing Floor. That's going to be an awesome one coming up. I mean,
Yep.
Serious Sam BFE already done. And like you said, there's a lot of
Humble Games
coming in. And now, here's
no toilet, though.
Fair question. Will our Humble Bundle keys work with the Linux
They
version?
better. If they don't, that's going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah. That's
Me included.
going to be quite a bit of nerd rage on that one, man.
Yeah, I think to get people started on using the service, it would be a good idea too, because then it's like, hey, I have a bunch of games here already, so
Yeah.
it's an easier transition from just having many games to having few games.
So, do that, guys. Please do that. Up next is something I like to call content story. Now, did I mention our favorite subreddit?
Our Linux Gaming.
r_Linux Gaming. So we're not pretentious enough to think that we need our own subreddit when there's a perfectly good one in existence, which you can find at reddit.com/r/Linux_gaming. Now, this is something I ran across, and there's no other way to do this other than just read it. How can devs make wine ports acceptable?
Acceptable.
How do we do that, Jordan?
By promising that within 6 to 12 months there will be a native Linux port.
What
and
if,
here's something to get you started.
Yeah. What if they only say, check this out, we don't want to bother porting to Linux, but we'd like to wrap it in wine and sell it to you as Linux native so we could get some of that sweet, sweet Linux monies.
Linux monies.
Now, you do remember
Yes.
when one of our first, Steam Linux game news of the week bits came out, I said, developers are going to start going, we better start doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be case example, maybe? No?
A case? Oh, you mean like, what was that game from Humble Bundle? That was ported in WoW.
That was Limbo.
Limbo, yeah.
Limbo, and we should never use the word port in wine unless we have glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Period. But this is something from the developer to quote. So, let's say a native port is a no-go, but the dev can't spend time to make it compatible with wine. Alright. There are kinks and some issues that we can fix, I'm summarizing at this point, to make it work happy with wine. Say we do that, and we sell it to you as Linux native. You'd be cool with that, right?
I wouldn't be happy with it, but if it's a game I really want to play, then
If it's a
wouldn't
game
mind
I
it
really
anyways.
want to play, but I think we got to regress a bit and think about. I like to pay Linux developers for developing for Linux.
On Linux.
Right.
That's fair. That's fair. I think like I said earlier, I think a way to make a wine port acceptable is to say, well, here's a version that works well under wine, and we are working on a version that will run Linux native. Just as a sort of interim step.
Now, these guys didn't even bother with that. Now, first of all, I love wine. You love wine, right, Jordan?
Wine is good, yeah.
Yeah,
It runs
wine's
a lot of
fantastic.
stuff that I wouldn't otherwise
There's
be
a lot
able to
of
run under
things
Linux.
like Elder Scrolls from Bethesda.
Mm-hmm.
Never going to see a native port of that, but we can run it under wine. A couple of other games that might be mech-based run really good under wine. Can't tell you which ones. Might never see a Linux port, but when you're in the mix of saying, well, we just can't be arsed to make it run, we could, but yeah, could we just sell it to you as that? That's not cool. And getting back to the original point is you pay for the development. If you're furthering Linux gaming development, that's what I'm paying for. 9 times out of 13, when I buy a
9
game,
times out of 13.
When I buy a game, I play maybe a minute and a half, and it starts up as like, it works, cool. That's it. And I don't feel any guilt. Do you do that?
No, I try to actually play the games. I buy them for a reason. That's to play them.
I come from the old school of Loki, and I just bought every Loki game. I want to fund it. I want to fund the development, the think tank thought processes with that. But these guys, and I can't say these guys, we don't know exactly what game this might pertain to, but the thing that just turned me sideways was, as I quickly look, if, everyone buys it with a wine version, and I quote, perhaps the next game, quote unquote, will be native. What does it take to get you rubbed wrong?
I have less of an issue with that statement. I mean, paying for Linux development is expensive, and there's still going to be a contingency of people playing games on Windows, even after Steam moves to Linux.
Now, you say paying for Linux development. That's if you have to go back and redo it, but what if you just do it from Genesis?
For Genesis?
From Genesis.
From Genesis. So just completely scrap the game and redevelop it for Linux.
No, they're talking about the next project. Perhaps will have Linux support.
That would be yeah. I mean, in this transitional period, yeah, wine ports would be acceptable. But if they're just going to be lazy and not port it to Linux natively, and this is going to be like, oh, we're going to keep using wine because it is cheaper and it is easier, then, I mean, that is kind of a douchey thing to say.
It's a whole lot of
at least commit to it.
And distribution. I mean, who's going to distribute? Steam is almost out. That golden ticket is almost here. But who's going to distribute a Linux game with a wine wrapper? It's not going to be Steam, because they put way too much money for Linux native. Humble Indie Bundle. Guess what?
All native.
We're still waiting on Vessel. It's not because
We're still waiting on Vessel.
Vessel runs perfectly under wine, mind you. But we don't have a version of it yet, and there's a reason why. That's called Limbo. Too much. You're never going to get that in the Humble Bundle. Desira, I'm guessing, even if you do manage to get that in Desira, no one's going to buy it, and you better have a big blinky thing that says, this is not native. That's the only way I can think around it. Just a bad idea all around, man.
Native Linux versions will always run better than the line ports anyways, so...
Yeah, and I think it's important that a lot of, Steam, man, Valve is behind this. So, if you can't be asked to port to Linux, don't come asking, hey, maybe this should, we can... All that translates into is you don't want to do the work to port to Linux, but you want the monies from the Linux. And we have the money, and I think we're going to see that when Valve launches. I mean, we've already seen it with the Humble Bundle, right?
Yeah, Linux users will pay for software. So
yeah, you have people like me. I'll just pay through the teeth out of principle, and we have Linux gamers, which I'm a Linux gamer. There's several games I play, but we have Jordan here. He buys the games in order to game. And, man, you think maybe we should start talking about games at this point?
Sure. Let's talk about some games. We've kind of kicked this Steam horse for this week.
We kicked it in the teeth, but there is something out, and it is Unvanquished Alpha 8. Bunch of cool things going with this. Couple updates, the human model, and my favorite, the Lucifer cannon! Exclamation point.
Cannon?
Lucy Cannon, surprise! We've redone the Stage 3 human weapon. In addition to a new model, it also comes with new effects for the primary, secondary attacks. It makes a really loud-ass beeping noise that'll pierce your eardrums. That's not in the original copy I'm reading, but that's what happens. We'll be further refining the particle effects over, etc., etc. Did you check out the video I did of that?
I did. It looked good.
Yeah. One thing they did was the update to the render, which I was kind of impressed with. GL3 uses 100 meg less memory and also support for GLSL shaders, which I thought was kind of impressive.
Yeah.
So, fun game.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know when they exactly introduced this, but the installer it's there. If you don't want to install it through package management, which I don't because I install too many games and have to blow them out on a regular basis, their standard installer is good. It locks in, puts it in your home directory, and goes out to the web. It installs everything. Had no problem running the game. I guess the only downside is, at the end of the day, it's a run-and-gun shooter.
Run-and-guns are fun, but there's an overabundance of them on Linux.
You mean that's 90% of our games is run-and-gun? Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say overabundance. That's my nice way of putting it.
That is definitely one nice way of putting it. Still a fun project. You want to check that out at unvanquished.net. And up next, we have 3D Space Comment. Where did I come up with that?
Combats. Bats.
3D Space Combat. Salvation Prophecy. Coming to Linux. So what do we have? It's a space combat exploration game where humans, mutants, and robotic fractions are at war for...
Robotic fractions?
Really? You want to go here? Factions. You try TDing a show and reading.
Alright. Keep going.
So let's check out a bit of the gameplay here. While we're reading up Epic Space Battles, I think you're required to put that.
Epic Space Battle.
Discover the secrets of apocalyptic prophecy. Seek out the Guardians. Looks like a space combat. I'm good with space combat.
Yeah, this looks pretty good.
Yeah, military strategy, all that bit. It's being developed by Fire Games. A Linux port of the game is under development, and good progress has been made on it. And a bit of a quote from one of the developers, Jabberwocky.
Jabberwocky.
That's a brilliant... Well, not a brilliant name, but I like the name. Don't you like the name Jabberwocky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's jumped on a very good business opportunity with that name.
Definitely going to stick
the three of you who got that reference,
yeah,
pat yourselves on the back.
The lead developer, and to quote him, I started out programming on Linux a long time ago. It's a pleasure to be back working in it again. I like Linux both as an OS and as ideology. So, this port is important to me. That's cool, man. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me feel better than maybe the next version.
Maybe.
Will possibly, on an alternate Tuesday, have a native port. So. Good on that.
We have something box-related coming up.
Well, I don't want to call it box-related, and I surely don't want to call it a Minecraft RTS, but Dysis is a real-time strategy / first-person shooter / hybrid / funded.
/funded with the Linux version.
Kickstarter.com pledged goal of $5,000. We are at 13,000 wet stinky caches. This is a project by One Dimension Games from Roswell, Georgia. And trust me, we have contacted, but the stretch goal was met. Windows, Linux, and Mac versions are available. I guess one of the important things to point out is $20 gets a prototype soon after the... Let me play the video here. Project is released. Let's see if we can mute this critter. We'll get that going. And you're going to get that shortly after, what do we have left? 20 days. But if you do the 35, you get 4 copies of that. Now, I guess you can give that to your friends, but your name will also be in the game. I don't know. I have nothing against it.
Minecraft. I don't think we need any more Minecraft clones.
I don't want to call it a Minecraft clone because this is the first Minecraft game I've ever seen proposed as a genuine RTS.
I guess. It could be interesting.
It could be interesting. Keep a lookout on that. There'll be a link in the show notes. It's a Kickstarter project. Like I said, 20 days left to rock this critter out. But let's talk about Defenders, and sometimes Defenders, they have these things.
The Defenders have quests, yes. It's regularly a part of a Defender's life when he is given a quest on a semi-daily basis, and he has to go complete this quest.
Do you know that Defenders also have air?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adobe Air for Linux.
Adobe Air for Linux, man. Tell us about it.
Years ago? Didn't they kill that a couple of years ago?
I think they tried. Give us a brief summary of Linux users.
It was a runtime that Adobe had that was like cross-platform, but it barely ever worked. And
no, it really was cross-platform, much like Flash. It genuinely really sucked on Android, non-iOS, and other devices.
Mm-hmm.
But we're looking at a bit of gameplay here. It's your traditional hipster 8-bit. But RTS and tower defense, how does that work?
RTS and tower defense. Yes.
Well, RPG hybrid and tower defense.
With RPG elements.
Yeah.
So I guess you can level up, maybe.
And
maybe there's a semblance of a storyline.
It looks like it would make a very fun tablet game. But I think...
Possibly.
We got to go all the way down to Step 7, Enjoy Defender's Quest. Now, that's a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to give the developers kudos, because if you see here, our future games will probably be developed what was it, Haxi? Or something like that, so we can get true native support for Linux without having to mess with this junk, quote-unquote.
Nice.
Guys, can't say I'm a huge fan of the game. I've never played it. I'm not big into the genre, but just for saying that, we definitely want to mention DefendersQuest.com. If that's your thing, give it a shot. If you want to go through those 7
RTS tower
steps, infernos, hell, or however you want to do it, give it a shot. It might be fun.
It could be.
It could be. As always. So, we're getting almost to the end of our fantastic show.
Almost, but not quite.
What's the not quite part?
I believe you had a package come in from Amazon recently.
Well, that sounds like something we have to talk about in the after show.
Indeed.
But before we do that... Oh, go ahead.
No. After you, good sir.
I'm just saying, before we dance with that, you want to check us out at LinuxGameCast.com, because this is not just a podcast. I mean, we have an entire site dedicated to Linux game capture, news, reviews, and basically whatever the hell else we come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening to this podcast, especially if you're doing it on YouTube, here's a pro tip. We're not going to get back to the comments. I mean, I do my best to try to check the comments about once a week. But those videos link back to Linux Gamecast where I can keep track of the comments or post them in the forums. If you want to download, we're on iTunes, audio and video, SD video, regular audio, and video HD for any RSS reader. Bunch of cool things. There's our little setup. That's a microphone I'm talking on right now. Hello. And here's
my setup is considerably less nice.
We're working on that.
And a microphone.
We need to set up an Amazon account or like a donation or a charity or something like that.
So you can afford me some good recording equipment. Yes.
Yes. We need to do that.
Yes.
But check us out.
Donate, please. Give us monies.
LinuxGameCast.com, YouTube.com/LinuxGamecast. And as always, Mr. Svang, at the Burning Fool. And me, who has no liquid left to drink, at Vin Stone, who gets a very interesting voice. And stick around for our spoiler-filled South Park After Show.
The following is absolutely horrible and contains excessive amounts of profanity. You have been warned.
Profanity. So, man, here we are in our pre-after show. We can't really show the after show because it's all teeth and nails, hard drugs, alcohol, and booze, blackjacks and hookers. But there's
blackjack and hookers. I brought extra hookers this time because I skimped out on the blackjack last time.
I brought extra jacks. I think we should talk about that.
All right, let's talk about Jack.
How about we talk about insecurity?
How about we talk about Bane?
Well, Batman, I don't know.
You should have respected my authority. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Man, I have to be honest. In recent memory, I even posted this on my G Plus profile and probably on the Twitter nets. That was the first South Park in recent memory, and recent memory is at least pushing 2 years back, that just made me pause it and go, alright, I need to collect myself. This is mental. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think they've been on a roll this season. Or this half season. It started off really weak, but now, wow, they're really coming out swinging.
The Bane thing caught me at the end. I thought that was fun.
The Bane thing was excellent. One Bane's like really bad, but there are like 7, 8 Banes.
Oh, yeah.
We're in trouble.
beat him down in the parking lot with the UPS man. You can never trust that. But that's, it was so, it was beautiful.
It was a piece of art. It was beautifully constructed and wonderfully executed.
Indeed it was. But they had a fair point. I mean, who would want to have sex with Kyle's mom?
Who would want it? Well, apparently Kyle's dead, and good for him.
Well,
good for him. If you're chained to someone, you might as well find them attractive.
Did that
Cialis
commercial turn you on?
Hey, he was the only one in town who did not require Cialis.
But you don't even have a wife.
Yes, I'm Jimbo. I don't have a wife. But good for him, man. After that many years of marriage to still be sexually attracted to your wife, good on you.
But
statistically,
Kyle,
it's not likely.
I can't do what is Kyle's. Damn it! I know.
I can't do Kyle's mom's voice.
No, not even Kyle's little brother, the Canadian, the
Ike.
floppy head.
Ike.
Why couldn't I remember that? The
Ike.
one with the beady eyes.
Oh my god, that drawing was absolutely. That was great. And he left a note saying what he wanted to do to her. UPS man, mom. Oh my god. That freaking picture Ike drew was like the best plot device ever, because everyone is just so stupid in that town.
And they ran it all the way through the entire episode about it.
It was great. Like I said, that was beautifully set up.
And I love the personal security bit with like Cartman.
No, I like the security inception, where he's like, "What are you doing? You're completely useless." And then his phone rings. He's like, "This is insecurity. Are you all right?"
The first part where I lost it was when Kyle was talking to Cartman about, well, no, the Jewish people are growing in numbers. Then the phone goes off. I thought it was funny.
Oh, man. I love how, like, casual they are about his anti-Semitism. It's just like they accept it. He's not going to change it.
Well, it's Cartman, man. I mean, it just made me laugh. And I was like, oh.
You should have respected my authority.
You should have respected my authority, Cartman.
Oh, man. That Bane voice was completely ridiculous in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes, but we have years of listening to that. But, you know, the whole thing about the Jewish people growing and all that, and I was like, oh, wait. Guess what? I'm German and...
We're growing. We're going to outnumber and take you over.
I'm not Jewish.
We were just biding our time. And you will be overrun, German boy.
Oh, by the way, Jordan's, I guess, technically by osmosis Jewish, right?
Yes, by osmosis.
I don't know exactly how that works out.
I'm an atheist, but I was raised Jewish, and my parents are Jewish, and yeah.
Yeah, that's about where we're all at with that one.
Yeah, so I can still, like, lie and take the Jewish holidays off. Be like, oh, it's part of my religion. But that's just because I'm a jerk like that.
That's why when I talked to you, I was like, how did you remember the bits for your bar mitzvah? He's like, oh, man, I learned it. It's like a song. That's all I had to learn.
Yeah, I learned that completely phonetically. I have no clue what I said. I could have been reciting a fucking million-line love letter to Justin Bieber, and I wouldn't have known.
Something, don't pay retail. Something.
Yeah, pretty much. You hear it sung, you listen to it on repeat enough times until you memorize it. That's how everyone does it.
I just realized this has turned into people taking hits off their pipes when the camera's not on them. Which I'm guilty of.
Yes, Mr. Pipe Smoker.
Yeah, right.
I've been good. I haven't been smoking my pipe while I'm on camera.
Me either. You know something else I watched this weekend?
What did you watch this weekend?
Almost last weekend, but my days get mixed. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Oh, they wrote a book about it?
There was a book before a movie.
Oh, right. They just all of a sudden came up with a book about the movie. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hollywood never ceases to disgust me.
Yes, I actually really enjoyed the book. I thought it was I thought it was a thoroughly enjoyable read. But that's the thing. Like the book had a lot of subtle things that I really liked how they worked it into Lincoln's history. Like I hate how they portrayed his parents in the movies, where they're just like, "Oh no, we're going to defend the slaves because we're."
I'm guessing
awesome.
something was lost in translation. Now, the one thing I'm guessing, I've not read the book yet. I've read Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, but I never got around to reading Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter before I saw the movie. But I'd definitely go back and we'll be reading this.
I really recommend you read the book just because.
Here's something I want your opinion on,
it's
though. How did they treat his... Because one thing I didn't like how they kind of glossed over in the theatrical release was his training. A 2-hour-long movie, and they spent 5 minutes.
The book actually glossed over his training pretty quickly. Like, they described him, like, training him with weapons, and, like, the scene where he's, like, trying to cut down the tree in one swing, that was from the book.
That was just like, oh, get angry.
Get angry and hit them hard because they do not go down easily. That was basically the lesson.
That was kind of disappointing because I wanted him to be endowed with something other than just like, okay, you're human. Here, get pissed off and hit things.
That's basically it. Like in the books, in the book, in the movies portray him a lot more successful in dealing with vampires than he was in the books. Or in the book, rather.
I mean, they tried to make it clumsy with his first...
No, but he constantly got his ass kicked. And what he started doing was, he's like, okay, it's not smart to directly engage the vampires, so I'm just going to, like, burn their houses down.
Which would be clever.
Yeah, and then all he does is, like, stand in front of the doorway so that they can't escape. The only fighting he does is to keep them inside the building, while he waits for explosives to go off.
But I'm with you with the way they tied it in with the Underground Railroad. And
that was actually in the book, but it wasn't like... Okay, so one thing they didn't have in the movie that they had in the book was that Henry, Abraham Lincoln's vampire teacher, is actually a part of a bigger group of vampires who are opposing the vampires. So they give Abraham Lincoln vampire bodyguards, and in the Gettysburg thing, they didn't have to wait for the silver to show up, because the Gettysburg guys, both sides had vampires.
That's something I kind of felt that they were holding back, and I was like, well, I didn't know, but I kind of felt that, especially after seeing the end of the movie when they flash forward to current time and Henry does the same thing with a different person.
That doesn't actually happen at the end. That doesn't happen at the end.
Don't spoil the book for me, though. Yeah.
Honestly, the ending is such a trip. I won't spoil it.
Don't cock that one for me. I want to read it myself.
The ending, I got a kick out of the ending. I thought that was a pretty good way to end Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. But the thing about the book that's different from the movie is that the book is written Henry comes to this author. There's a preface is sort of like, this guy came to me one day with like a book of notes that says, these are the true secret diaries of Abraham Lincoln, and I want you to write a book about it.
So it's like a third person?
Yeah, so this is some guy who's reading Abraham Lincoln's journals and then writing down his research.
It was Nicolas Cage. He discovered it in the library.
No. It is... Do they give his name? I haven't read this book in a while, but I did...
It will be played by Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. You need to get off the Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage is a goddamn national.
You say that. Oh no, this is Seth Graham Smith. This is supposedly the author is like, a vampire came to me with these notes. This is the setup for the book.
So it's basically like any other Tuesday around here. Vampire notes.
So it's written like a biography, and that's what I found really interesting about it.
Either way, cool movie. Long movie, man. It's 2-hour long movie.
Yeah, I was very disappointed, but that's because I actually really like the book.
Mm. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why if you can help it, in my opinion, I like watching the movie, then I get to travel to the book world and like, ooh, here's all the cool stuff, as opposed to going, why wasn't that in here? Mm-hmm. Do you see where I'm coming from on that?
I think either way, I still get that. Because I'll see the movie and I'll be like, okay, so this movie was like visually good, and then I read something awesome in the book and I'm like, oh, why didn't they do that? That would have been amazing. That would have made the movie 10 times better.
Right, and I've ran into that enough to where if I can hold out for the movie, I'll watch that. But off Abe, couple of new things. New episode of Fringe, which I know you're not watching.
I should be watching it. I know.
Be watching. Feel bad.
Bad.
But
you watch it on Netflix though, so I can't get copies off you.
Premiering tonight at time of recording on Sunday, which is not the traditional day of rest. It's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
New series of Walking Dead.
Ah, yes, Season 3 of The Walking Dead. I need to get caught up on Season 2 of The Walking Dead.
You can actually gloss over Series 2. 2 episodes in, skip it, watch the last episode, you're good, because Mad Men took all that, and if you go back and read...
So, nothing happened? What about the woman with, like, the zombie dogs?
Last episode of... Yeah.
That was the last episode of Season 2?
Pretty much. They spent all their time in a farm, talking about not doing anything. I mean, I got to the point where I was watching last series of Walking Dead. If I saw the forum, I just closed the episode. I would hit fast forward twice, and I was like, nope, not watching that. Didn't advance the story. Last one, I'm looking forward to tonight's episode. It's going to be fun. Not going to get to watch it because you know what we're doing tonight?
We're casting Linux games.
No, we're doing the same thing we do every night.
Try to take over the world.
I was going to go for drinking heavily and waking up and finding out that Chrome was no longer my default browser. But yeah, either way.
I saw that thing. That was weird.
You want to talk about a wild night? I have never been that snookered.
I have never been that intoxicated that I was like, a new browser. You know what? I'm going to start using Conqueror because fuck you. I'm going to use Conqueror from now on.
At least it's based on WebKit.
At least it's based off WebKit.
Oh man, I think it's time we wrap this after show up and go into our real after show. What do you think?
Sure. Let's do that.
Let's do that. As always, disclaimer provided by Mr. Sveng at the
Mr.
Burning
Sveng.
Pool. Sveng. Yeah, he's good. He's good.
He's good.
And partial commentary by the Stone at Vin Stone. And this...
At Vin Stone.
Yeah, at Vin Stone.
Yep.
See, he's good. He's going... we're going to do this. It's going to get better and better. And that has been our Linux Gamecast after show for Linux Gamecast Weekly. I'm waving to the people, so let's wave to the people who are still,
wave
fortunately.
To the people.
Good night, guys, and cheers.
Live long and prosper, or some shit.
Hail Santa.